So in this trial run of our Devos, I wanted to just continue what you learned about on Sunday morning. So I want to read part of it to you that I hope that you guys covered this morning, and you should have on yesterday morning. And that is, meanwhile, Saul was still breathing. This is the beginning of Acts chapter 9. You can follow along if you want, starting at verse 1. Meanwhile, Saul was still breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples. He went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues in Damascus, so that if he found any who belonged to the way, which is Christianity, whether men or women, he might take them as prisoners to Jerusalem. As he neared Damascus on his journey, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him, and he fell to the ground, and heard a voice say to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" "Who are you?" Saul asked. "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. "I am Jesus whom you are persecuting," he replied. "Now get up, go into the city, and you will be told what you must do." Now the men traveling with Saul stood there speechless. They heard the sound, but they did not see anyone. Saul got up from the ground, but when he opened his eyes, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand into Damascus. For 3 days he was blind, and did not eat or drink anything. And then the story continues, and he meets this man named Ananias, and his sight's restored. But I think the part about this passage that I would like to think more about is that all the other people at this time that are like telling people about the way, about Jesus, and about what he did and his death on the cross. I mean, this is like just years after now, or whatever. And they're all people that can say, "I sat next to Jesus." It's like Peter's going around. "Jesus and I used to like sit by a cup of coffee, and he would tell me all about the kingdom, and I would soak it in. Or he even gave me the power to stand on water." So he had all these personal experiences with Jesus. But here's Paul, who had none, zero. He was actually killing Christians in this time. And Jesus knew that. He knew that he didn't have the credentials that everyone else had. So he said, "I'm going to stop you myself, show you me, so that you can fit in a little bit here. So that people can listen to you and be like, no, I might have lived next to Jesus like Peter and them, but I saw him. He showed himself to me on the path." And it makes me think about sometimes that we think like, we don't have the skills or the talents to do stuff. And God gives us things. Paul might not got to share a meal with Jesus, but Jesus still gave him something. And I think Jesus has given all of us some vision, some ounce of himself. And we just have to know what that is and know what we're called to do with it. So this week I thought we could do some reading about just how God has gifted you and how God gifts believers and how he believes in them. So you can take this week to focus on what you learned from Saul in the Paul story, and how since God gave him something and a great ministry blossomed from that, how the same thing can happen with you, that God's given you something and a great ministry can blossom from that.